Okay, my name is Mike Pacheco. Thank you very much for coming today. Wow, that's a welcome. Okay, thank you. So it's nice to have you come here on a relatively sunny, hazy, smoky day outside. And we're going to be watching some movies today, thanks to Tim Street. We'll get to that later. So we've got quite a few things to cover at first before we get started. We normally begin by asking if we have any new members today. And I was talking to one. So Jeff, could I have you stand up and just give your name and give us a little brief idea of what you collect, what brought you here?
Okay. Jeff, I know absolutely nothing about anything, so I won't pretend to. I have 4 phonographs that I'm very slowly learning a little bit about. I have this oddball machine that I'm trying to put back together. It's a organola. It's an odd machine. It appears to have pipe organs on the inside. I don't really know if they would do anything. I'll hold it up for the cameras. But they're missing. Most of them are missing. Someone's cut them out at some point. And I kind of like to know how long they are. If anybody has ever seen one of those machines, I can make those pipes again. They're just wood. But how long were they supposed to be? Did it really do anything? Was it just again? That's me.
Great. Thank you. So again, that's a very unusual machine. I know a few people here you've shown it who haven't seen that at all. It'd be interesting to do some more research on it. Maybe have an article written, give some information. And we also have our people online too. Does anyone in our audience in Zoom know anything about this machine? Has anyone seen one of those before? No, I guess not. Okay. Well, Jeff, thank you for showing that to us. And do we have any new members on Zoom? No? Okay. I see Ed's got his hand up at the back.
No, I'm just making a suggestion. Maybe Jeff wants to send it into the bullet, and someone on the outside of our group might have an idea.
Sure, great idea. Okay.
There's a whole bunch of pictures of it online, but they were before I owned it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that there's a way that you might get more information.
Okay.
Okay. Good suggestion, Ed. Thanks. Okay. I wanted to make an acknowledgement today of basically what's happened. We had, I wouldn't call it a crisis, but a situation we had to deal with this past week, and that Mark wasn't able to be here for today's meeting. He normally runs a Zoom. Mike Ryan normally fills in for Mark. He's not here today. And then Alexander helps out in the background. He wasn't able to be here today. So at the last minute, I want to acknowledge both Don Colvin and Sasha Goldman for jumping in and helping to get all this up and running. So there's been a lot of effort in. And Sasha in particular has been reading manuals and material and playing with the system. And you seem to have it all down and working. And at the same time, for those of you on Zoom, I ask your indulgence in putting up with any glitches today, just in case something happens. We're trying our best here. And Sasha's going to try his best to make it work, but sometimes little mistakes happen and we'll try to get around them. But I wanted to acknowledge these 2 gentlemen for putting in a lot of effort to making it happen today. So thank you. So we normally start off a segment saying, is anybody looking for a specific part? Like I'm missing a piece for a phonograph or whatever. Jeff, you've already told us about your machine. Is there anybody else looking for anything else in the room? Tim, what are you looking for?
Not necessarily the original part, but does anybody have any advice on replacing the fabric that would have covered the grill on an Edison disc gramophone?
So the fabric for an Edison disc,
right,
is a particular model?
C250.
C250.
Is that silk? I have no idea.
Angelo's got a comment to make.
But there was a company in Arizona that sold the radio parts. And one of the things that they sold was reproduction cloth.
Oh, okay.
And I have some.
Okay, so you two can connect up there with that, right? And Tim brought in some Edison motors here, and maybe somebody will be interested in those. Okay, and how about online? Is anyone looking for a particular part?
Don Meyer has something to say.
Don, go ahead.
Yes, actually, it's not a part I'm looking for, but I thought this would be an opportunity to thank Don Colvin for producing those 3D printed air fresheners for the refrigerator, because I bought two from Don, and one of them, we had an Oregon and Territories Antique Phonograph Society meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I was able to present that to the host as a thank you. And it was fun because Don had the foresight to include a little unmarked bag of a white powder in the bottom, and the person who was doing the hosting was an ex-RCMP officer. So I suggested he might be the only person in the room who had the qualifications necessary to open the bags. So thank you very much, Don. And as a side note, it looks on my end like you might be on a better connection speed for Wi-Fi, because the image is better than it was in the previous location.
Oh, great. Okay, good to hear. Thank you. And weren't you at a phonograph show in May? I remember you mentioning it last time.
If you're talking to me,
Yes.
no, not that I remember.
Oh, okay, then sorry, I mixed that up.
Thank you.
Okay, I thought there was a phonograph show on the West Coast.
Well, that was the OTAP's meeting was up island on Vancouver Island. A number of our American friends came up to attend the meeting up there.
Oh, okay.
And there are Canadian members of that organization as well.
Okay, great, thank you. Steve, I understand you want to make a quick announcement about.
Yeah, very quick.
So our next meeting is September 8th, and Steve's organizing the presentation. So he's going to tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, where am I? Oh, yeah, I have one. This has started to be a really great custom whereby we start off every season with my favorite record. So you have all summer to pick through your thousands and thousands of records to find out which one would you like to share with anybody. For those of you who will be here in the room, I will bring a turntable which can play any speed of records. So you don't. So if you have one of those very valuable 78s, you don't have to play them on a wind-up gramophone. I can play it on a lightweight machine if you wish. Also, for anybody who doesn't have the physical record, but you have the file on, say, an MP3, or even if it's just a link to YouTube. If you have the video of it, sure, any format, any style, doesn't have to be really, really ancient. We've had some spoken word, we've had some jazz, we've had some punk, we've had some all sorts of things. So the general rule is there are really no rules here, just keep it relatively clean. From ABBA to Zappa, and hopefully neither. Good point. Yeah, the very first meeting of the season in September. All right, so you know how to contact me, steve@caps@gmail.com. steve@caps, just one word, @gmail.com. And I'll help you put it together. All right, that's it.
Thank you. And again, if you can't remember his email address, right, anybody on the executive will pass it on to Steve. And I found too, some people do a lot of research into the records, which is great. Other people like to just get up and say, I like this record because, or I had this since I was a kid. It's whatever works for you. And I bet you if I approached everybody in this room, I could say, Brian, what's your favorite record? And you would have something in mind, a couple, and you could bring one in. So
Even if it's a second favorite. I already brought my favorite in. So.
okay, but the point is that we all have favorite records, so it should be easy to have a few people come up and contribute to
Or
it.
at least what is your favorite record that week, because mine changes all the
Yes,
time.
that week.
Yeah.
But then, so if they tell you about it this week, it's gonna be different by September.
Oh, that's what makes it fun.
Okay,
Well, they can present more than one.
Yeah. It's
Right.
gonna be 8 weeks from now till then, so please don't bring in 8 records.
it's the maximum 2 per person?
Yeah, we can do 2.
Okay, great. So we're preparing for September 3rd. Hello. Are you here for our meeting?
Yes.
Oh, come on in. Sorry.
Yeah, come on in.
So this is the Canadian Antique Phonograph Society? Yes, okay.
Can we come to this?
Of course.
Oh, perfect.
We're
Okay.
always welcome. You
Thank
want to come too?
My youngest is down there. He might not like it. But how long is this meeting?
We'll probably be here till around 5.
Oh,
If you decide to stay.
If he
that
stays for the auction, if he doesn't.
If you stay for the auction.
oh, okay, perfect. Okay. So call me when you're. Thanks, you guys.
Good to have him. Yeah, thank you.
Well, you've just missed the segment saying, are there any new members here? So would you like to tell us a bit about yourself? Putting you on the spot.
I guess, yeah, so I'm Owen, I'm 14. I recently got into like all this gramophone stuff about like a year or so ago when I started like collecting some shellac records.
Oh, cool.
Excellent.
How'd you get interested in it?
I used to collect vinyl records, and then at some point I found like a small batch of shellac records. It was pretty neat.
And that turned you on.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, if you want any more, you've come to the right place. Great. Have you joined the club already, or are you just checking it out?
Just check this.
Okay. We welcome you today, and ask any questions you want of our members later on. So we start off with the presentations, and then we have a break, and there's like a social aspect, and then there'll be an auction. And I suggest you talk to Bill. He looks after setting up the members, and he can tell you a lot about the club and how much it costs, whatever. But we welcome you here today. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so Bill asked me to actually do a quick little survey today about this room. And basically, we've been moved back to this room because of convocation going on at Centennial. And we would like to get your opinion. Do you prefer this room, which is a bigger size? Bill, how many is it supposed to hold? 80 or something?
Yeah, this has a maximum capacity of 80 members. I've been in for the last year. E116 has a capacity of 66. Now, our old room, B116 on the other side was also 80, so virtually the same as this room. Do you find the 66 capacity on the first floor a little cozy? It's more convenient because it's on the first floor. You don't have to depend on the elevator, but would you prefer the 80 room?
So why don't we do a show of hands of who prefers this room over the last room that we were in?
As long as the elevator works.
As long as the elevator works.
That's
Okay, so who prefers to go to, is it the last room we would be in or the one?
E116, yeah, it's below us.
Okay, so who preferred the room downstairs?
It looks like it's 50-50.
So it's roughly 50-50.
If you have to,
Downstairs. Yeah.
If you
8 months to fix the elevator.
if you have to schlep a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
it's downstairs,
I'm on your
right? It doesn't matter whether we have an elevator or not, you still have to schlep it over to the elevator.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So 50-50 needs to win.
Yeah.
Well, how about we decide it over the summer what we'll do, and it also depends which rooms are available
Yes,
to us.
yes, it depends on the college.
That's a big part.
My contact at the college, she doesn't work in this particular college and somewhere else. So when she said the first floor would be a throng of people for convocation, therefore we're moving it back to E212, I thought that's ridiculous. That's not going to happen. And indeed, there's nobody downstairs. It could have been E116. But it looks like this room is more likely to be always available to us, whereas downstairs they may pump us from time to time.
For graduation.
So anyway, let's, I'll book for the next year and I'll see what's available.
Okay, yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, everybody, you're not gonna stay home if we meet up in E212, right? You'll come up the elevator. All right.
No, Brian says he won't come up to, he doesn't like elevators.
All right.
Okay.
I don't even play music in this elevator.
Okay. Excuse me, okay, Tim.
What's the backup if the elevator fails? Somebody can't manage
Yes,
stairs at all.
there are other elevators on the floor, but you have to walk.
Wait.
Yeah, if you get to those, you're able.
All right.
Okay, so I guess that's something we can discuss with the executive over the summer. Okay. Sure.
I just want to say I still have some name tags that are not claimed yet. So if anybody did order a name tag or sign up for one, I did pay for them so that we could get the quantity discount. So I do have them sitting here, and if you did sign up for one, let me know and pay when you can. If you're not here today, possibly on Zoom, I can mail it or e-transfer.
Can you show one of the name tags on the camera?
I don't want to take it off, but it's hard to get on. The magnets are nice, but it's hard getting it in there. So
Hey, try doing one with the pin.
yeah. But and I can always get more if there are anybody that are new members or anything that want a name tag. I can always get some.
Great.
I can't remember. They're $12 or less. I think so.
Thanks again for doing that, Brian. Okay, let's move on now. Thanks, Steve. So every 3 years, CAPS does their elections. It's in our constitution. So it's something that we run, and today's your lucky day. So we're doing elections today. Now, we have various positions that have to be filled, and I did send an email to everyone asking if they would be interested in applying for any of the positions. I was just inundated with responses. So what I'm going to do is read to you the positions and then who has graciously offered to come forward and fill those roles. And then we'll clap for them and move on to our presentation. So I'd like to start with probably one of the most important positions is membership/treasurer. Bill Pratt has kindly agreed to continue in his role that he's been doing since 1982, something like that. 1982, he's been doing it. And I just want to say there's so many tasks, there's so many things that Bill does for the club that I couldn't begin to even list them all because so many are done behind the scenes that we don't see or know about. But in addition to being the treasurer and in charge of the membership and financial issues, he's the main contact for the Centennial College. And there's always some kind of issue that arises here, be it parking or rooms or getting insurance for the attendance and things like that. Bill looks after all of that, and he sends out the meeting notices that you receive for emails. He runs the website. Eventually, Bill would like to get some support and help to try to wind down some of the responsibilities. And it probably would take 3 people to replace you in that role, but you're willing to help train. And again, yeah. So, but again, thank you very much for all you do for CAPS and for agreeing to do it for another 3 years. So thank you. Next, I'd like to mention as editor of the newsletter that you all get is Mark Caruana Dingley, and he's going to continue to be the editor. And he also, besides getting the articles, which is hard to do, he also looks after formatting the whole thing. He puts it all together for the publisher. And that's a lot of work to lay this thing out and fill up each little space and get the ads. So Mark's kindly agreed to do that. And he also often runs the Zoom meetings too. He helps with that. And he's also been aiding with the program convener's position. So Mark does a lot of things too. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here today, but he has kindly agreed to go ahead with that and do it for another 3 years. And our auction manager, Mike Bryan, will continue in that role too. And Mike's been very successful at bringing in a lot of funds for the club by having people contact him with either estates and things that they want to liquidate, or just sometimes just get people out of the blue who say, I have this gramophone, I don't know what to do with it. Usually Mike will often convince them to either donate it to the club or they'll sell it here and the club gets a percentage. But in the end, it helps our coffers and our accounts a lot, of the finances of the club. So Mike's done a great job with that. And of course, you see him at every meeting doing the auction part too. So Mike's kindly agreed to continue with that. For program convener, Alexander Witkowski has agreed to continue the role. He started in February to do it, and he's learning the ropes with that, but He's got so much enthusiasm and he has so many new ideas of things that he wants to do. And so I was really glad that he agreed to continue on in that role. And again, unfortunately, Alexander couldn't be here today. I myself have been doing the president's role for a total of 9 years. And so I'm going to transition to being, quote, past president. So I'll still be here, still be on the executive, but I'll be a bit more in the background. And as president, I'd like to formally welcome Brian Nix. He's kindly agreed to take on the role for the next term of 3 years. And Brian's been doing the role of vice president for the last 3 years. So it's a good transition for him. And I'm sure you'll all help Brian out in anything that he needs in the role and suggestions and things like that. And Brian, thank you very much for agreeing to take this up.
So now I promise no tariffs as a president.
All right. I vote for you.
Hold me to that.
Thank you, Brian. And so Brian was the vice president and we need to have that role filled. So I'd like to introduce Don Colville. He has kindly agreed to be our vice president and he'll take on that role. And Don's in the past been helping with the membership of the club. And Don's always got a lot of great ideas and we've been running through a few of them recently too. And really looking forward to your contributions for the club, Don. So thank you. And that's the new executive for 2025 to 2028. So again, yes, Bill.
I just want to acknowledge Peter Hopkins and
Oh, yes.
Brian Nix, who,
I'm
for
sorry.
those of us who meet in the room, not through Zoom, for the past 5, 10, 20 years, they've been bringing the donuts and the coffee to our meetings.
Yes, and actually I had it at the bottom of my list. I was gonna mention Alexander along with Sasha Goldman and Mark will be assisting with the Zoom. And so that's a lot of work behind the scenes right there. And Peter Hopkins, of course, for catering. And I also want to mention Norman Brooks. Norman is in Halifax and he does the write-ups that you see in the newsletter about the meetings. He always has a great summary. And I'll often say, did I say that? Did we really talk about those things? He has a neat way of pulling together all this information and it makes it very concise. So it takes time for him to sit there and listen to everything that we're doing and then also make a summary of what you see on the auction table here. So all these people contribute to the club and help make it work. And it is a volunteer organization and it works because we all volunteer and put our time into it. We do it for fun, we do it because we like the hobby and we enjoy each other. So thank you, all of you. Yes, Bill.
And one more, don't forget Don
Oh,
Kelly.
and Don Kelly. Oh, doing the 50-50 draw, that's right.
Hardest draw.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking actually of retiring from the cookie business, from the 50-50 draw, looking for another side hustle, actually. Anyway, if anyone here would be interested in doing it, it's not a terribly difficult job. You sell tickets, collect the money, and pick the winner. And anything else you want to do. So I just thought I'd mention that. Maybe some of you might think about it over the summer, if you'd like to sort of carry on. And I've been doing it for how long? About 15 years or so. Money, yes.
I'm gonna miss you.
I know. I may change my mind once the money starts rolling in.
I'll donate.
And actually, I'm sure Bill can tell you to the penny how much money you got.
If he can't, I can.
He's not in his hand.
Oh, on my left hand, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway, so that's our election. So I would, let's say, thank everybody who has agreed to come forward and be on the executive and all the contributors to the club. So thank you. Well, if there's no further announcements or anything, we're going to move on to our presenter, Tim Street, today. And Tim, I was very pleased to hear that you're going to be showing us movies today, because I remember as a kid in school, and it's like, all right, we're going to see a movie today. It's like we don't have to listen to the teacher talk.
I think we have 2 people in the room who've never known the joy of a teacher pushing the card in with a big projector on top.
Oh, wow.
While they have a smoke break in the back of the room.
And I remember the difficulty they always had of threading up the film. That was an art in itself. I mean, I think they were trained or something, but they just screwed it up.
I tell you that one of the projectors the projector I'm gonna use today is a slot load. So you just literally just fling it right through. It's easy as pie. Now, I'm sure everyone, all of us, had our days with old equipment. And after the years, things can sometimes go wrong. I'm sad to say that when I was practicing yesterday to get today's presentation ready, long story short, I managed to break 3 projectors and destroy 1 film. Parts give out. I lost my box of vacuum tubes, so 1 projector has no sound. Another projector broke his worm gear, so that I can't fix. And the other one, the last roller at the very end, the rubber disintegrated and coated a 1,200 foot long film with greasy, degrading rubber. So that film is a write-off unless anybody here knows how to get rubber off celluloid.
Without wrecking the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that means the 3rd film that I promised today is not available. It's a sticky mess right now, which was the film about the Industrial Revolution. So I have substituted that one with a film called The Story of a Year, 1927, which goes through all the highlights of the year, news highlights, music, sports, entertainment. You'll get to see, amongst other things, an orchestra in a recording studio making a pop record with the greatest singer of all time, a man known for his wonderful singing voice, Mr. Babe Ruth. Yeah, that Babe Ruth. So we have that. We have a film called The Boyhood of Thomas Edison, which goes through how he got started in his various businesses. But to start off, I've got a little cartoon just for fun to bring back some of the memories of going to see the cartoons and the movies in the morning. I'm sort of wondering, I'm betting, who's going to be the one to say, I remember seeing that in the theater when it was new. I'm guessing it's going to be one of those two. So there is also popcorn. That's what all those bags are for. So if you'd like to have some popcorn or watching films, come on up and help yourself.
I was just, this side, that the big spawn is in the way. Maybe so we can move it so we can get a better view. It's on the one screen, right, Steve?
Yes.
We'll come up on video on that side as well.
No, well.
We've got the camera on.
The camera will. Okay.
So you'll see the actual film on this side and the video of the film on that side.
Right.
So you get to see it and put on your glasses, see if you can see it in 3D.
Okay, we'll get the left side.
So I don't have to rewind these
Yeah.
one.
How do we get this right?
Quick stop. Happy landing, coppers. Get on it right away. Get Tracy calling Chief Calorie. Calling Chief Calorie. I read your Tracy. Investigate 2 towers in the vicinity of Gimmicks department store. And Chief? Yes, sir. Be careful. These crooks are out and could make it right hot for you. They can do anything. Over. And out. Give me a tip on a caper at Gimmicks department store. Right now. Thanks, Nick. You beat a mean sheepskin. I'll sneak up on those crooks and catch them off base. We sure got a lot of swag in this bag, bro. Yeah, and this is only the beginning. And now for our getaway. Now to teach those crooks a lesson. Hey, look, a cop. He's after us. I'll blast him. Simmer down. Here's the way we get rid of him. Watch him go back where he came from. Fast. You've been framed, copper. You'll never nab us for this payroll job. You and your loud mouth. Now he's wise to us. So we rather know. Why waste bullets? Listen to this. No introduce instructions. Okay, you two. Enough of this funny stuff. Drop your cats. You're under arrest. Oh no, Copper. Hold everything. Officer Epo Calorie calling Dick Tracy. Go ahead, Dick. Are you at Gimmick's department store? I am, Tracy. I located the powers. I'm on the 10th floor and about to get the drop on. Good work, Dick. We'll be over right away to give you a hand. We won't let you down. Thanks, Tracy. 6, 2, and 8, and over and out, and going down. That was a silly bro. Yeah, but now, let's get out of here. Hey, take a look over there, in the uniform department. See that dumb-looking dummy in the cop's uniform? Looks just like the dumb cop. Nobody could look that dumb. They wouldn't dare say that to my face. Just look at that nose. Looks like a real nose. Feels like a real nose. The dummy's head is loose. Hammer back on, but good. No. My stars, a talking dummy. I'm thinking I'll teach you to have respect for the law. Quick, we'll lose him in the floor department. Toss his skate under his left foot. That'll bring him to a quick stop. Happy landing, Copper. Wow! You said stop him? You speeded him up. He's barreling down on us. Gosh, right down the gift wrapping chute. Well, it looks like you don't need any help. You've already wrapped up this case. Yes, sir, Tracy. Gift wrap, that is.
So Tim, where do you come up with a lot of these films?
A lot of them I just got when the school board was getting rid of them.
Really?
And then after that, just a few on eBay. I think that's about it.
Is there much of a cult or a club in collecting them?
There are people who collect like TV shows and features. Then you're getting into the big bucks when you do that, and I'm not paying for that.
Yeah.
So
I guess most are 16 millimeter?
yeah. Now the advantage of 16 millimeter is that it was never made as silver nitride film, so you never have to worry about it catching fire.
Yeah, I know. So silver nitrate film, I believe, like when they stopped making it, it was the early 40s or something like that.
Maybe even before that.
Yeah. It would just deteriorate on its own, and sometimes I know there were film vaults that caught fire as they deteriorate.
Yeah, I think Universal Pictures lost a huge amount of their inventory to the fire in the 60s. Including Lon Chaney's big starring role in London After Midnight.
Yeah, there's a lot of lost films because of that. So they started using what they called safety film and copied them over, and that's why we have some of these old movies, because they were preserved.
Exactly, yeah, 16 millimeter came out a bit later too, so it's all celluloid.
Okay, so what are you going to show us next?
So the next one is called The Boyhood of Thomas Edison.
Mike,
Before we start,
we have to give another promotion to give away.
Yeah, why don't we hand over the
Yeah.
Can we just ask the people online, were you able to hear the film okay?
Yeah, good.
Okay.
All ready? Yep. All right, over.
Each year, over 1 million people visit this historic and greenfield village near Dearborn, Michigan. It's the Menlo Park Laboratory of Thomas Alva Edison, America's most famous inventor. Many years ago, in this laboratory, the electric light bulb was developed by Thomas Edison. The electric light was only one of the thousands of patents that came from the rich imagination of this man, Thomas Alva Edison. What were his beginnings? What kind of a boy was he? He was born in this small house in the town of Milan, Ohio, in the year 1847. By the time he was 6 years old, the boy Edison, called Al, was already showing signs of being different from other boys. He spent a lot of time just watching things. Daydreaming, the neighbors said. Some even thought he might not be very bright. This concerned his mother, Nancy. There were times, too, when she wondered about his quiet, thoughtful ways. Al's father, Samuel Edison, owned a small business in the town of Milan. He, too, was often perplexed by the unusual things his son would do. One evening, Al was very late for dinner. His father searched everywhere for him, and finally decided to look in the neighbor's barn. Samuel Edison couldn't believe his eyes. There was Al, sitting on a nest of straw. Sitting on some eggs. Why? What was the reason for this strange behavior? Could Al explain it? Well, he'd been observing the mother hens in the barn sitting on their eggs to hatch them. He was curious, he said, to see if he could hatch eggs by sitting on them. Al's father found it hard to understand his son's experiments. Perhaps young Alva would change when he started school. When Al was 7, the family moved to Fort Huron, Michigan, near Detroit. The boy went to a nearby school, but for only 3 months. So his mother, who had been a school teacher, taught him at home. He and his mother read to each other from books in the family library. Al learned to read quickly. He had a very good memory and seldom forgot anything he read. His love of reading continued as the months and then the years went by. By the time Al was 13, he was reading all the books he could find. The corner of the cellar in the Port Huron home was his first laboratory. Here he spent many hours reading and experimenting. He was especially interested in books which contained scientific information. In a chapter about electricity, Al read, "The simplest mode of exciting electricity is by friction." Always eager to find out for himself, he rubbed a glass rod with a silk cloth. He found that he did get an electric charge, which would attract certain things. Young Thomas Alva was learning by observing and trying things out. His mother was pleased with Alva's interest in learning, but she worried about the strange smells and noises coming from the cellar. Chemicals were messy, she thought, and dangerous. He'd have to get rid of them, but Al pleaded that he needed them for his experiments. Finally, his mother agreed that he could keep them, but he would have to make sure no one else would handle them. That was the problem. Now, how could he make sure no one else would touch the chemicals he valued so much? This is what he did. He labeled every bottle poison. Not too scientific, perhaps, but it was a practical way to keep others from disturbing the bottles. Just as he had solved this problem, Tom Edison would find practical ways to solve other problems many times throughout his life. As Tom continued with his experiments, he found he needed more and different chemicals. And chemicals were expensive. If Tom were going to buy what he needed to continue his experimenting, he would have to find a way to earn some money. On the local branch of the Grand Trunk Railway, Tom got a job as a newsboy. The train left Port Huron early in the morning, made several stops on the way to Detroit, then returned late at night to Port Huron. Tom made the round trip every day. He sold newspapers at each station and on the train. He also peddled candy, fruit, nuts, and magazines to the passengers. Business was brisk, and Tom was soon earning enough to buy the books and chemicals he wanted. On the train, he had even found an ingenious way to carry on his experiments. He had gotten permission to set up a small laboratory in one corner of the baggage car. Here, when he wasn't working, he could follow his love of experimenting, which would become so important in his later life. Edison's endless curiosity led to other things. In the same baggage car, he set up a printing press he had bought secondhand. He began to print his own small newspaper. His news items were picked up from friendly telegraph operators in stations along the railroad. He taught himself to set type and operate the hand press. Tom Edison's Herald was the first newspaper ever published on a train. In Detroit, Tom picked up his regular newspapers at the office of the Detroit Free Press. One day in April 1862, during the Civil War, he saw a late news item. Tom realized at once that people all along the railroad would be eager to buy papers with news of the battle, if they only knew about it. Why, he could sell many times his usual number of papers. But how would he let people know? Tom got one of his telegraph operator friends to wire the headlines to stations along the railroad. At the first station, Tom found a crowd eager for further news of the battle. Another eager crowd met him at the next station. Tom took one look and raised the price of his papers. He raised them again at the next stop as his stock of papers diminished. By the end of the ride, Tom's papers were gone. And he had a handsome profit. He knew what he wanted to do with the money. He would use it to learn to be a telegrapher. Tom had long been interested in the telegraph. Now, with instruction, he quickly learned this new skill. In a way, his work with the telegraph marked the beginning of Tom's manhood. His new skill was to take him away from home to many different places and new challenges. But throughout his life, he would never lose his boyhood traits of being curious, not giving up easily, learning through observation, and working out things in his own way. These traits helped to shape his career as one of America's greatest inventors. He invented hundreds of useful products. The marvelous phonograph, the radio microphone, the mimeograph, the Edison effect tube, which contributed to the development of radio and television. And the one invention that has probably done most to change the lives of people the world over, the electric light bulb. The invention that helped men overcome darkness. And so many of the inventions that we use and enjoy today are developments that originated in the mind of this man, Thomas Alva Edison, whose genius helped to create the modern world, so different from the world of his boyhood.
They talk about him being different from other boys, having strange smells and sounds coming from the basement. For a second there, I thought he was a serial killer.
What year is this?
It's not written on it, but based on the rest of my collection, I would assume probably mid-1960s. Typical of the instructional films of the era.
Tim, who was the cornet company that produced this?
Us, I don't know. I don't think they're around anymore or any subsidiary. They were just one of a number of companies that made pretty much strictly educational films.
So maybe like a school board.
And they would have shipped them off to school boards all across North America. They're a pretty common one. Usually Coronet and Encyclopedia Britannica films are probably the two biggest distributors of this kind of thing.
These are the print back memos. Yeah.
So for our last film, we'll take a look at the year of wonderfulness, 1927.
Wow.
She's Texas Guinan, better known as Queen of the Nightclubs. Her hoarse cry of "Hello, sucker" was just one cue for madness during that year of frenzy, 1927.
I was simply the victim of politics. I shall go back to France again, and I shall...
becomes a major American industry, its most persuasive saleswoman is that irrepressible queen of New York nightlife, Texas Guy. If Jimmy Walker runs the city by day, Texas Guinan surely runs it by night, writes one reporter. At Guinan's place, it's $25 for a bottle of scotch, $2 for a pitcher of water. Says Tex, never give a sucker an even break. The conveyor belts of industry set the tempo for the time, as old products and new are turned out in numbers never seen before. Led by the auto industry, mass production seems the key to prosperity and plenty. These are the boom days, and for most Americans, time for a spree. It's a buyer's market, and if you can't pay cash, you can always get it on time. In overwhelming quantity, the products of mass production go on display. To meet competition, to create demand, a new kind of advertising. To be young, to be desirable. Buy to be envied, buy to be happy.
Sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm blue. Pride is what is done, depends on you. I never mind the rain from the sky, if I can find sunshine in your eyes. Sometimes I love you, sometimes I hate you, but when I hate you, it's because I love you. That's how I am, so what can I do?
Ads play upon the private fear, the vanity of people. Is your bathroom paper safe? Don't fool yourself. Decency demands it. Will your feet make lines in your face? Stay young with your daughter. Grandmother's still dancing. Her face is young, but her figure betrays her age. Enter the it girl of the newspaper, Peaches Browning, sweet 16. Fame and fortune had come when Peaches met rich Daddy Browning at one of the high school sorority dances he liked to sponsor. Why shouldn't I help little girls, says Daddy, unaware that their marital bliss will soon end in a headline sensation. With the growth of newspaper chains, in 1927, news too is mass-produced to sell sensation. And the nation, at the peak of its material fortunes, goes berserk in a mad pursuit of headline trivia, stunts, and scandal.
Crazy work, crazy do, all that I ever hear of you. Sit around all night long, think they work when it's gone. Keep you from lazy, how it's done, on the road, and with that dancing, let you holler black spot, crazy work, crazy do, if you drive it, crazy do, you're wild, you don't.
Everything's going up, from the stock market to aerial stunts, and the country goes wild. The sky's the limit. The airplane is thought unsafe for travel, but it makes a thrilling toy. The greatest stunt of all begins on the misty morning of May 20th, as a a young airmail pilot hastens to be the first to fly non-stop from New York to Paris. He hopes to capture a $25,000 prize for which the world's top aviators are competing. His name is Charles A. Lindbergh. He's the dark horse of the transatlantic air race, but the crowds are with him. For unlike the others, he flies alone. The field is soft with rain. The little monoplane, with neither radio nor safety equipment, is heavily loaded with fuel. Ahead, 3,600 miles to Paris. And all America vicariously shares every lonely mile.
In the cold gray dawn, when the stars are gone, in a mighty aeroplane, flew a boy in search of fame, far across the pounding main. Like the bird on high, up to do or die on his journey over there. Then a million hearts beat for him, and the whole world said a prayer. For Lindbergh, oh what a fine fool was he! Lindbergh, his name will live in history. Over the ocean he flew all alone, gambling with fate and with dangers unknown. Others may take that trip across the sea upon some future day. But take your hats off to lucky, lucky Lindbergh, the eagle of the USA.
America is impatient for its hero's return. President Coolidge has the Navy bring him home. And the nation's 6 million radios tune in on his arrival.
Ladies and gentlemen of the radio audience, this is Graham Ackerman speaking from the Navy Yard, Washington, D.C. Lindbergh is coming down as we can, friends. A darn young boy. Unafforded, quiet, very serious, and awful man.
As President of the United States, I bestow the Distinguished Flying Cross as a symbol of appreciation for what he is and what he has done upon Colonel Charles A. Lindbergh.
In New York, the greatest welcome in the history of the city for the boy who flew to Paris alone. Lindbergh begins to tour the nation, and in the words of F. Scott Fitzgerald, for a moment people set down their glasses in country clubs and speakeasies and thought of their old best dreams.
Others may make the trip across the sea upon some future day, but take your hats off to lucky, lucky Lindbergh, the eagle of the USA.
In 1927, almost every night is opening night on the Great White Way. More than 70 theaters appeal to every taste. For sugar daddies and tired butter and egg men, Florence Ziegfeld prepares the 21st edition of the Follies that glorify the American girl. Music man Irving Berlin assists at the piano as Eddie Cantor rehearses for the Ziegfeld Follies of 1927.
Georgie Portick is a guy who is very bashful and so shy. The ladies prize him, they idolize him. You can find most anywhere in a great cozy parlor set. I've been looking at the ceiling while some girlies is appealing. Oh, see, Georgie, whenever I'm with you. Oh, see, Georgie, I don't or so. You look at me and then oh gee, I just go, oh see, Georgie, what can it be? When you're around, I get so excited. You're handsome like a statue, but each time that I look at you, oh see, Georgie, oh see.
In 1927, the movies also prospered. They are attended by 60 million people every week. Elegant movie palaces are built to present silent films like this one, starring the it girl on the screen, Clara Bow. In motion pictures, with the premiere of The Jazz Singer, starring Al Jolson, Sal comes to the screen.
I'm a funny. Sorry, I need to wait. I'm funny. I hope it's the right time, not too late. Granny, I walk a million miles on one of your smiles.
Even baseball hero Babe Ruth sings for the camera. Considered all washed up, Babe Ruth begins the 27th season with a vow to break his own record of 59 homers. It will mean a home run contest with Lou Gehrig, his youthful Yankee teammate. Millions of fans root for the Babe to hit 59 as he did before, and just one more. A darker contest, engaging many hearts and minds, is the state of Massachusetts versus Sacco and Vanzetti. After 7 years of bitter controversy, the two men will now be sentenced to die by Judge Webster Thayer, who has refused all requests for appeal. Convicted of a payroll murder in 1921, which they claim innocence, the shoemaker Sacco and the mustached fish peddler Vanzetti are alien anarchists. This, say their supporters, has been their only crime. All through the summer, thousands protest the execution scheduled for August. They argue that prejudice, not evidence, convicted the men, and demand a new trial. Many, including the communists, cry innocent simply because Sacco and Vanzetti are radicals, while others cry guilty for the very same reason. As the execution date nears, a special committee decides that the condemned have received a fair trial. All appeals are denied. After 7 long years, on August 23rd, Sacco and Vanzetti are executed. The controversy will live after them, as Vanzetti had foreseen when he wrote, "The taking of our lives, that last agony, is our triumph."
Lucky lily up in the sky.
All dark shadows are banished by Lindbergh's tool. He has displaced everything sordid, writes one reporter. He has exalted the race of men.
The kind of a sun makes the mother feel proud. Lucky lily, right all alone, in a little plain on his own. Love
feeling deep, show them the way, and he's the hero of the day.
September 30th, thousands come hoping to see Ruth get the 60th home run that will break his record. But in 3 trips to the plate, the Babe doesn't do it. The season is almost over. It's now the 8th inning of the game with the Washington Senators, and it will be Ruth's last time at bat. Washington's Tom Zachary gets ready. Straight one is called. It's high, a ball. Zachary gets ready. The Babe has done it. 60 home runs in one season. One of the greatest records in baseball. Above all, the phenomenon of Lindbergh. What had begun as a courageous stunt ends as much more. As he concludes his tour, the American people see in him a decency and a purity they sense they have lost. In the reckless, abandoned year of 1927, through worship of Lindbergh, the entire nation seems to seek a return to innocence.
Out on the way, for your bigness, unknown, unknown, you flew. Like an angel in flight, you flew through the night, when the whole world praying for you. While you were flying high in the sky, you flew into the heart of the world. With God on his throne, leading you across the foam. Like an angel you flew into everyone's heart.
1927 is almost through, and on Times Square, the excitement of the past fades before the hopeful anticipation of the new year to come. '27 was over. Although gaudy and loud, in the end, it marked a subtle change in the American people. For those who greeted the new year of 1928, there would be new heroes, new thrills, new sensations. But never again would they succumb with the same wild, thoughtless abandon. Although they were only dimly aware of it, the era of wonderful nonsense was rapidly running out.
job, Tim.
Great job.
So I'm glad the projector made it through the film. One thing I just wanted to point out, especially for the people watching our Zoom, that what they saw is not what we saw. And the reason is, the way the movie projector works, it takes a whole line of still pictures. It brings one down to the shutter, opens the shutter, projects the picture, closes the shutter, moves to the next one, opens it, closes it 24 times a second. What the digital camera does is it reads the whole picture one line at a time from top to bottom, and then restarts again. So that's why when we're looking at a clean picture here, when you see it on video, you see that flicker.
Yeah.
Because the digital camera is also scanning it while the shutter is closed. It doesn't stop, it just keeps going. So if you want to convert 16mm film to a digital format, you have to get a special projector that has a special shutter, which you can't watch it on a screen because it's constantly going and only obscuring part of the image at a time. So it lines up with the video camera that's recording it. Those are very expensive if you can find them, which is why I don't have one. But yeah, that's why when you see it on this side, you were seeing a bit of a flicker. When you were seeing it on this side, you weren't. Because it's two different technologies trying to pass the same information.
Cool.
There we go.
Can you tell us anything else about collecting films like this?
It's a pain in the butt. Much like our own record collection, it takes up a lot of space. Film is heavy. A lot of the stuff that came from institutions comes on metal reels and metal cans because it's more durable and gets passed around a lot. They ship them to different schools. But that weighs maybe 5 times as much as the plastic stuff. So you get the plastic stuff, it's easy. I could carry a stack of like this, no problem. The metal ones, maybe a stack this big. They're just heavy.
You find a lot of times you get the films and they've been broken or
They've been broken, damaged. A lot of them are. They get spliced. If the projector tears it, you got to cut it and rejoin it together. You may have noticed that second film, the color was awful. That's because as you project them more and more, the pigment starts to fade out. And the last one that fades out is the red. So a lot of brilliant color pictures are basically red and black instead of black and white. It's just how they go over the time. A lot of school films, they get shown a million times before they're finally withdrawn from service because we all know schools don't want to spend money if they can avoid it. They'll show the same film for years and years and years. I mean, I think York Region School Board finally abandoned film around 1999.
Really?
They finally gave up and switched to at that point they were still using VHS as a substitute. Only because they had video projectors, so they could now show the videotape in the cafeteria as opposed to needing the film to get it there. The film collector's world, I mean, educational stuff is a dime a dozen. Getting TV shows, movies, that stuff's really expensive. A film like this, you could probably buy it for $5. If you wanted to get a print of an episode of Star Trek, which I have, you're looking at about 150 to 200. And you're not going to know what kind of conditions until you get it. And even then, the first time you play it, your projector can just grab it in the wrong way, and splits it. So you don't just need the projector. You need to have a splicer. If I want to have film rewinds, you have to buy the cement, the tape, film cleaner. You have to have a whole backup supply of stuff. And it's like, if you're running it, you have to sit there with it. Because if it goes wrong, you've got to be right away grabbing it. Or it'll just keep wrecking the film and keep going. The projector won't stop. So it makes for a sort of labor-intensive hobby, but I like it. It's fun.
And it sounds like the projectors themselves have issues too,
Oh,
as
yeah.
you just mentioned prior to that.
Yeah, you go through the parts where over time, even Bell and Howell that made them for institutional use, they would never would have expected them to last 50 or 60 years.
Right.
So the fact they're still going is pretty good. But Bell and Howell especially, which is the black one I have over there, they all have the same Achilles heel. And that's the motor is attached to a worm gear, which is attached to the driving gear, and that worm gear is plastic, and it always just dries up and cracks and breaks. So most people who are seriously into this, they won't use Bell and Howell projectors. Every other part of them is built like a tank, but the single most important part of the whole thing is garbage.
Well, that brings me
I
to
don't.
could that be
Yeah.
3D printed?
That's what I was thinking.
Potentially.
So there are people actually who do that, who do 3D print them. There's somebody who's actually tooled a machine to make them out of aluminum. So you can buy the parts. The plastic ones, any kind of will have the same problem. Eventually it'll dry up and crack, and the whole machine just stops when that breaks. The trouble is, even if you have the part, to get to it, you have to, it's at the very center of everything. You have to take the whole projector apart to get to it. So I'm willing to try because I figure, well, the machine's already dead, so I can't make it any worse. I can't put it back together again, but you're buying a part for $100, you're spending probably weeks taking it apart and putting it back together and just hoping that it runs.
And I remember hearing somewhere recently that they were going to stop making projector bulbs because they have mercury in them or something like that. Do you find it hard to get bulbs for these machines?
That I don't know about, but my older ones, like the Bell & Howell 550 and the 399, they take bulbs that haven't been made in 20 years. So you get what you get. Once they're done, they're done. The newer ones, like the Ike and the Elmo, they take ELC bulbs, which are still used in displays for stores and slide projectors. So you can get them for about $5 each on Amazon.
Oh, wow.
So at least those will last. And the BAK bulbs, the ones that they use for the reading the sound, those just last forever. They rarely burn out. So I've got maybe a dozen of them at home. I'll probably never need to look for one. Incidentally, the way the sound is recorded on the film, if you want to come, I can show it to you. It looks just like the grooves in a record. It's a black strip with clear lines going in and out, like a record groove. The projector just passes the light through that, and a photosensitive plate on the other side reads it and converts it into sound. So it's specifically synced. You have your shutter here, film goes down to about here, and that's where the sound will be. So it's very specially synced, which is why if you see a splice, you hear it a second later, because it has to get down to the sound drum to be heard. So it's quite the technology.
But that was the advantage of sound on film versus having 16-inch
Exactly.
Vitaphone discs that were separate from the film.
Exactly, and if you look up Vitaphone records, you'll see a lot of Al Jolson's shorts, him singing that stuff, which kind of ties in with the graffiti we found on the wall when we came in. That and the blackface is not exactly politically correct these days, but that's what survived the era. That's what was made back then.
But I found it fascinating having you bring these in, and I can't recall the last time we saw a movie at CAPS.
Oh,
Right?
from school.
From school.
I needed to watch. That I'm told to watch.
Yeah.
But it's a shame that they didn't explain to us how the sound and how the actual film works.
Well, 16 millimeter is probably going to be your most standard. That's what all the schools use. So if you want to try collecting it, that's the easiest one to find with sound. Some Super 8 films have magnetic sound, which I don't collect, but I've been told that those magnetic tapes, which is the same as a cassette tape, same technology, they tend to degrade fairly quickly. So a lot of them just haven't survived over the years, unless they were very meticulously stored. If you go bigger, you want to get the features they used to use in the theaters with 35 millimeter. I hope you have a big house and a very understanding partner. It's big equipment, it's loud, and the films are huge. I mean, that film was what, 20 minutes, and it's 800 feet of film. So you get into an hour, you're going over about 2,000 feet. You know, they get pretty big, and that's 16 millimeter. You double it, well, a little more than double it for 35 millimeter. You get reels that are that big. So it's.
And the bulbs
are bigger, and they're more expensive, and they'll burn out more frequently. And there are people out there who do collect the 35 millimeters, and they have rare prints of stuff. But if you get into that, then you get into the silver nitrate and the highly flammable, pre-World War II films. So it's a lot of stuff.
Anyone have any other questions for Tim about the hobby? Jeff?
I'm just curious, have you been to the Kinmount Theater?
Which one?
The Kinmount Theater?
No, I don't know that one. Is that the one in Halliburton?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've heard of that one. I've never been up there.
Have a good time there.
Yeah.
Anybody
I
else?
just wanted to say, Keith, sorry, Jim, that was an excellent show. I really enjoyed it too.
So do you remember seeing Dick Tracy in the theater when it was new?
No, no. And now.
Okay. Thank
Thanks.
you very much, Tim.
Thank you. That was a fun one to rewind.
And I think you can see when you hear Tim talk about it, like he put a lot of effort into getting these movies together, having the projectors work, and we were arranging screens and things like that too. So it's really, if you think about it, it's a lost technology. And I was thinking, like, people are amazed. They say, like, you could still play VHS tapes, yes, but I guess that's what makes this hobby different too, because we still have the original machines that played this old technology. Whereas so often in our society, The newest one comes out and then you just throw away the old technology. It's just seen as garbage, basically. And that's what would have happened to these films years ago. The
That's
schools-
absolutely what happened, is I got somebody's down in the dumpster at the York Region School Board.
Yeah, because suddenly nobody wanted them. It was just old technology that was obsolete. So thank you for saving this vintage technology. Great place to show it. So what we normally do now is take a break. For those of you on Zoom, Mike Bryan normally goes along with his cell phone and he takes pictures of what's on the table. So he's not here today, and I don't think we have anybody else. You can do that too? Oh, great. You are very handy, Sasha. Okay, so Sasha's gonna walk by and you're gonna describe quickly what each thing is. And then, so we'll take a break of about 15 or 20 minutes, get some refreshments, and then come back and begin our auction. So, oh, and Dawn is gonna do the 50-50 draw today. Possibly for the last time, we're not sure. Thank you.